A warm welcome to each one of you. This is the Naomi Talk Show with yours truly, Liz Kenywa. And kama kawaida, I like appreciating each one of you that has made it to listening to our content, to subscribing and even sharing our content with your loved ones. We truly hope that you have learned something that can make your life easier or can help you to make adjustments to do life better the way God intended us to do life. Today, we are looking at a story that I can simply say is a story of hope, resilience, and never giving up. I want you to imagine this, that you get engaged and the following day, you are involved in an accident, and from there, life takes a turn, things change. Within a minute, life throws you a new season where you have to modify how you do life, learn how to do things differently, but still manage to keep hope alive. That is a story we'll be hearing today from an amazing, amazing lady. And that is none other than Veronica Wangui. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Kindly introduce yourself further, because I've only mentioned your name.
Okay, my name is Veronica Wangui Muthoka. Yes, Muthoka is my husband. We've been married for the last 1.5 years now. Yes, and I am a daughter. I'm a sister. I am a trainee advocate, a lawyer. Yes, I am a born-again believer. I should have started with that. Yes. Yes.
That's why you're here. We truly appreciate even taking time to be with us here today. And we really want to learn a lot from your story. But before we begin, Veronica, growing up, how was it like for you?
Well, I think I grew up in a kawaida household. I am a firstborn.
And so, you know, firstborns are like deputy parents. Eh?
Yeah, for sure.
Now I understand why you look very responsible.
Yeah, for sure. I was a deputy parent. To some extent, I still am. It's just that I'm running my own household now.
Yes.
But I am a firstborn, and I was born in Nyeri. Mokoroine. I think I was born in Tomotomo Hospital in Nyeri. And yeah, so it was just myself and my parents. And then shortly after, 2 years after, my brother was born. And yeah, life changed. And growing up, my brother and I were we had a love-hate relationship, because for me, I felt like he came and stole my reign as the only child.
He stole the limelight. He became the super star in the movie.
Yes, and quite honestly, I didn't feel like I enjoyed my reign as the only child. So we had quite a love-hate relationship. And actually, when we were young, I remember my mom telling me that there's a time he was crying in bed, and he was so noisy. You know the way newborns are; they are very noisy. I remember I pulled him off the bed so that he could keep quiet. And so yeah, that's. But my brother is because we were the only children for a very long time. We had a love-hate relationship in that he was my closest friend, but because he was a boy, he needed to do his own thing. But yes, we were a normal family, and then when I was, I think, 2.5 years old, I joined school.
2?
Yes, I was 2.5. 2 or 2.5. 2.5, because it was just after my brother was born.
Wow.
Yes, I was taken to school.
That's quite young.
Yes, I was taken to school in Nyeri Bado. And by then, in public schools, there was never baby class, nursery.
You schooled in a public school. You don't sound, first of all, like a Nyerian. Shush that.
Yeah, I did. I went to Nyeri. I schooled in Nyeri for, it wasn't long, it was short-lived, but yes, yeah.
Yeah, the only mark we have about Nyeri people is shush that, and shush is shush.
I am privileged that my parents ensured that I had a very good education and I did not acquire the a problem. And as I was saying, by then, in public schools, there was no baby class, nursery and pre. It was nursery, then class 1. So I was taken to nursery. But then, at that time, there was an uncle of mine who was a teacher in the school. And on that particular day, he was on duty. And I don't know what I had done, but he beat me up and I was so angry. I did not understand why you're my uncle and why are you beating me up. I'm still a child. So instead of going to class, he ran away from school. 2.5-year-old child.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
And I ran away from school. I went to my father's workplace. He used to have a hotel somewhere, like, I don't know if it is 5 kilometers away. I think I would say it was 5 kilometers away
from school.
From school, because where the school was, because it's still there. It's a town. It's a city center called Kaharo, and where my father had a hotel, it's called Mododine. So it's like a distance. If somebody is from there, they would be able to calculate the distance. So I walked the whole way until my father's hotel. Alafu, it's those times, because if I'm 2 years, I was about 2 years, it was in the 90s. So it means there were no phones.
Of course.
Yeah, and so my mom used to come to pick me up in school. So she came to school and ambiwa mtoto alienda, we don't know where she went. So she was so frustrated. So she's walking the 5 kilometers to go tell my father that, we can't find our daughter, sijui ameenda wapi, only to find me, niko na chai na mandazi na kula. And she couldn't even beat me. And I think I stopped going to school because of that, because my mom couldn't imagine me running away again. So after that, we now moved to Nairobi. My father had moved to Nairobi before us, so we followed him. We moved to Mwiki, a single room. It was a single room in Mwiki. It was a single room, and it was it was on ground floor, and it was those, I don't know if they make houses like that nowadays, but it was those houses that, like, it didn't literally have ventilation. Because I remember the house used to sweat, like the walls used to sweat. Kulikuwa na, like, those bubbles. Yeah.
They are still there.
Yeah, okay.
They are still there.
Then, life continued. Joined school. I went to, it was a private school. It was called Primaries, or I think academy. I stayed there for like 2 years. So what happened? I was a very bright child. So because I had already started school, so I joined nursery even when we came to Nairobi. And when the teachers noticed that I'm bright, and my mom insisted that I had to take tuition. Imagine a nursery child taking tuition.
Okay.
So when everybody else goes home, mimi naenda home, I take a snack, I come back to school, tuition.
Was there someone at home?
I think it was just my mom.
Oh, because sometimes, parents will do that to make sure that you're busy and not in the house alone before they come.
No, it was my mom and my brother at that time. He hadn't started school, because my brother and I have a 2-year-old.
So tuition, okay, sorry.
The tuition was to make sure that I don't go to pre-unit. So I didn't go to pre-unit, like I did nursery, then went to class 1 straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ndio mlianza kusomea degree mkiwa less than 10 years.
Yeah. And I think the reason why my mom was very insistent on me doing well in school, it's because for her, she didn't have an opportunity to finish school. I was actually having a conversation with my dad yesterday, and he was telling me that my mom, I think she gave birth to me when she was like 18, and because she also lost her mom quite early, she, like, even her schooling at some point was stopped, because when she was giving birth to me, she was sitting for her class 8.
Wow.
Yeah, because the whole thing. So she was sitting for her class 8 exams. and she was coming from my father's house, literally my father's house, going to school. So because of that, she didn't want me and the rest of my siblings to miss out on school.
We get it now.
Yes, so she was very insistent on making sure that we have the best education. And even now when I look at my life even later, like I was taken to the best schools. To be very honest, I was taken to the best schools because after that school that I was in, we moved to Umoja. And then now I transferred to primary school. That's why I schooled for like 5 years, because I left primary school in standard 5. And those days getting into a public school was hard because first of all, as I've heard even from other people, it was a very prestigious school in those days.
It's like primary.
Yes, I think so. It was like that because for me to even get, I had to pass an interview. Like there were so many requirements that I honestly, I don't think are required for a class 1. Like honestly, why do you need to do that for a class 1? But yeah, I got the opportunity. I really don't. My life from class 1 to class 5 is, I don't know. It's just I think there's a memory I miss, but really it was just kawaida life. My parents did the best for us. They provided for us. For me, I went to public schools because, you know, things, as much as they did their best, things were not that good. But you know, at that time also public schools were still not the way they are right now. Like they still offered very quality education. But now my brother, because he has asthma, so he got the opportunity to go to private schools very early on. Like he's never actually gone to a public school. So I, you know, I literally took the sacrifice.
Definitely, the minute you wear those shoes of a firstborn, there is so much that you sacrifice cautiously, sometimes out of the parents trying to learn on the job, because you're the one they're learning with, how to navigate the parenting journey. But I think it strengthens and firms up a firstborn to become a tough person.
Yes.
Develop some thick skin of some kind, and it makes you who you are. That's why you're a lawyer.
Yes.
And we truly appreciate. So you did your primary exam from?
No, I left Busara in class 5, went to a school called in Akko. Then I didn't stay long there. I went to another school called Academy, all the way in Gilgil, but I couldn't survive. I didn't have that.
That's a boarding setup, right?
Yeah, even in I was in boarding for like 2 terms, but with that kind of boarding setup, we used to go home every weekend. So my mom didn't. It wasn't a serious school, honestly. I think things might have changed, but by the time I was in that school, it was just all fun and games. Like
for me, that's what it should be like for you when you're when you're in lower school. It should be fun, lots of games.
Yeah,
plenty of them. But as you progress now, of course, things start to tighten up a little bit.
Yeah. I think for now, if they still do the same with CBC, it would be the perfect school. But now with our time, you know, it was more fun and games, so we were not really performing. Because I remember by the time the first class it was sitting, I think the first person had like a 3-something. So my parents saw that it didn't make sense, so I went to Gilgil. Actually, the reason I went to Gilgil is because my friends were transferring to that school. And so I convinced my mom, because those friends of mine, we used to live in the same place. So I convinced my mom, please let me just go with them so that we will be together. And I was shocked that she agreed, because which parent agrees to transfer a child because of their friends? But she agreed. But now, because life was quite hard, as much as I'm a firstborn, I was not that tough. Because I remember I became sick, I lost so much weight because that school was tough. We used to run for meals, like hey,
it's called movement by running.
Yes, like even in high school, I don't remember encountering such, like, because we used to take uji as the first meal of the day. We leave the dorms.
You're running for porridge.
You come back, preps. Then it's time for breakfast. Now
run for breakfast.
You run for, and then now, because you know it's so many people running, you may end up falling, hurting yourself, like.
Are we laughing? Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't have the tough skin. I say I have tough skin, but for that one, I did not have. Then now I went to the school that I did my class 18 academy. It was a very good school actually. It was a boarding school, very nice facilities. Yeah, and because of that school, I ended up performing very well. And because of, you know, all these school changes, my education was affected, because you imagine you're transferring from this school before you catch up. And that's the academy, they were the I think they still are. They're a very good school in terms of like academics and all. So by the time I'm getting there, I was doing well in my previous school, but by the time I'm getting there, I think I had a 360 and I'm second last. Wow. In the whole like stream. So the teachers had a conversation with my parents, and because I went there in class 7 third term, and that's when I got the 360 at the end of the term. So the teachers had a conversation with my parents, and they agreed, because I was not involved in that conversation. I keep on saying I was never involved in that conversation, and they agreed that I need to repeat. So I repeated class 7, and believe it or not, when I repeated class 7, that 360 was the last less than 300 I ever got. So yeah, like I did quite well. Even going to class 8, as in I remember, like academically things changed for me at that point, and then I finished my class 8, went to high school. I went to girls' high school.
We used to call it.
Yeah, because originally the school was built in literal Mambos. Yeah, and high school for me was quite tough. I will not lie. High school was tough.
I don't know anyone whose high school experience was not tough.
Yeah.
I'm yet to come across one.
Yeah, for me high school was very tough, because I'd like to believe that my parents sheltered me. And then now imagine going to a school where things are thick. Everyone is coming from all manner of backgrounds, and you know, people are projecting their insecurities, including the teachers, on the students. As in, I was very lucky, and I think I hold that with honor, that I left that school with no suspension. I was never expelled. Like, I got punishments here and there, but yeah, things were tough. And then now when I was in Form 2, maybe I would say that even when I was in Form 1, Form 2, I had the occasional getting born again and kuanguka every Sunday.
So preacher akikuja Sunday unaenda altar call, mwingine akikuja after some time.
Yes. I was how. And I think it was contributed by how tough life is, and sometimes it felt like God was the only option.
Just remember someone said they would get saved, then on Monday their shirt would be stolen and they have to pick another shirt from the hanging line. So they would say, okay, hang on their salvation, I'll come back, pick a shirt, then on Sunday, go for the altar call.
Yeah. For me, it wasn't to that extent of like stealing, but it was ile naokoka, then I'm like, this is not working out. Life is so hard. Najipata nimeenda enter, like, you know, I've left it all behind. Then in Form 2, third term, there was I think, what they used to be called, CU challenges. I got born again. It was a CU challenge, and what used to happen, because if you were involved in the CU, funny enough, I was kind of involved in the CU even if I was not very serious with God. We were divided into Bible study groups where we'd meet on Sunday afternoon. So during the CU challenges, what used to happen is that like every Bible study group would come up with something to present during the CU challenge. And I remember our Bible study, I think we did a skit, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember if it was a skit, but you know, was it? Yes, it was a skit, and so other people also did skits. And at the end of the CU challenge, it was actually the person who preached was Pastor George Masharia. He was very popular with girls. I think he still may be. I don't know. But he was preaching, and I felt very convicted. Like I don't know what he said. Then he said that you feel like if you're tired, come to the altar. So I remember going to the altar with my friend. At that time, my deskmate also. We went together. So it was a very good. I'm like, oh, okay, at least I'm not going to struggle with this alone. So we went, got born again. And I remember that term was very, because it was third term, it was a very, like, it was life-changing in the fact that now I'm getting to know God. Like, what I had known before was totally different, because now I was coming to know God in a way that, like, I'm understanding who is He, what am I supposed to do as a Christian, nini, nini, nini. But still, though there was still a lot of legalistic tendencies in that. So at the end of the day, even if something had changed from the previous getting born again, it wasn't as, like, I didn't get the actual discipleship. And so at the end of that term, I think we closed on the 23rd of November 2012. We closed school. And with our school, what used to happen is that we used to close, like, very early in the morning. You'd be released to go, like, as early as 6 a.m. as long as your parent has come. And for the first time that term, my mother came for me at 6:30. Oh. I remember being called. I'm like, are you sure that can't be me? Because my mom used to come like at 8, 9. So me, you know, when like people are packing up to go, me, I was never in a hurry. Like, at that time, I was busy taking breakfast. I was not in any hurry. So yeah, she came for me, we went home, and on this particular day, she had so much energy. She wanted us to spend a lot of time. So we got home, I took a meal, took a shower, changed, and then she said we need to go for a drive. She needed us to move to a new house. So we went house hunting with her, went to see some friends. Like, it was a packed day. Actually, we closed school on the 22nd. So after that, we came back home, and because she wanted to sell her car, we left it with someone. Like, we used to live at Tumaini Estate, so she left the car with someone at Donholm. So we took a matatu home. And because the reason she left the car is because the person she left it with was our agent.
Agent.
Yeah, alikuwa anafaa kupeleka the car for a test drive with somebody else. So, you know, we left the car, we came back home. Like, it was a very
normal day.
Yeah, it wasn't normal because things were good. Like, because I was a teenager, my relationship with my mom was not perfect. And because I was the firstborn, the expectations were higher on me than even on my brother. So we had our normal fights and all. Then the next day, she spent the whole day with us with me in the house, because my brother at that time had not left school. And my brother was to leave school that evening. Oh, I think what I forgot to say as I gave my story, my parents separated when I was in class 7. Yes, when I was in class 7. My parents separated, so we were living with my mom. And because my mom, because she had given out her car, she couldn't go for my brother in school. So my dad is the one who went for my brother in school. And when my dad came, my mom left the house, went to talk to him for a very long time. And for me, it was very weird, because all this time they had been separated. They never had that kind of relationship. But the funniest part also is that during this last term of my Form 2 in third term, my father is the one who took us to school. And he's the one who did shopping. Kawaida, he'd just send money, my mom does everything. But in this time, it's like my dad started becoming very involved in our lives at this point. And so when she went to talk to him, wakaongea, then she came back to the house. The next morning, she was going for a ratio for a friend of hers. And that morning, before she left, I think she needed some money. She didn't have cash on her, so she thought, because I'd been sent pocket money when I was in school, that I should have money. So she asked me, and nipatie 1,000 nitakurudisha baadaye. So I'm like, sina, niliachia matron, because the matrons used to help us keep money. I didn't have the money. She got angry, and I remember she was shouting. Even me, I was shouting. Like, it was a crazy morning. Then she left, and I remember I was very angry at her. I'm like, why would somebody wake up in the morning and decide to shout, of all things? Like, we've had a very good time since I left school. Why you, like, Mom, I thought we were finally hacking this relationship. And so she leaves for the Rora show, and yeah, that is the last I saw of her. Because when she went for the Rora show, as she was coming back, because the Rora show was in Muranga, as she was coming back, now it was already the 25th, at like 2 a.m., she got into an accident, and yeah, she died on the spot.
Sorry.
Yes.
So sorry about that.
Thank you.
I think from that point, wow, life changes.
Yes, life definitely changes. Because first of all, we lived with my mom. And we hadn't lived with my dad for like 4 years. So that means adjustment. And first of all, that Sunday, the 25th of November, when we were being broken the news to, because when the accident happened, you know the way kawaida accident, when they happen, people steal belongings.
Yeah.
So her phone was stolen, all the money she had in her bag, even I remember she had a digital camera, ilibwa. Like, so the people she was with could not even contact anyone. Like they had, I think like maybe, they didn't have numbers of like actual people who could break the news to us. So what happened is that they came to our place at like 6 a.m. but now they couldn't come like to our house. I think they were trying to like strategize on how to come to the house.
Because your 2 children in the house.
Yeah.
You and your brother.
Yeah, I have a younger brother now.
Yeah.
So we're in the house, and then so now they come, they knock the door, the house help opens, and then they want to talk to me. And so when I go to them, they're telling me, I knew them because they were my mom's friends, so it wasn't like real strangers. And they're like, your mom has gotten into an accident, but she wants your dad's help. Tell me, I'm like, even if she had gotten into an accident, why would she need my dad's help? Like,
and they are separated.
Yes. So now I'm thinking, why, like she has brothers. Like there are so many other people who maybe she would have called before she needs to my dad's help. And why would she send you? Because my mom was like a very, the definition of an independent woman. So why would she ask for, come, like it didn't make sense. But now, you know, nimeamka, I was still very sleepy. I just gave them my dad's number and they left. But before they left, I remember seeing, because we lived on first floor, I remember checking out from the balcony, and I remember the windows of the car they were driving, they were all rolled up. And then they would roll them down kidogo, look at us. Then I could see people shaking heads. But now I'm like, what's happening? But never in my wildest dreams would I think that my mom's passing is why all of this is happening. So between the time my dad they come, and now my dad comes to our house, it was a moment of anxiety. Hey, what is happening? Nini, nini. By that time, all of us have woken up. We're asking ourselves, what's up? And so after some time, I really don't remember, because you know, after you've gone through the grief thing, there are things you don't remember. I don't know how much time passed, and then my dad came, and before I know it, there are relatives coming to our house, my uncles, as in like, because I think I'm moving from one room to another. There are people in the house, and so before I know it, there are people in the sitting room. We're all sitting. And then the person who my mom had gone to their ratio, the guy, tells us that, you know, your mom got into an accident and now she's in a coma. But she'll be okay. So now we want to go to the hospital and check her. I'm like, okay, sasa tutaenda pamoja. They're like, no, you can't go. But then now when they start, like, unajua kukataa, I become very worried, and I remember even going to the washroom and I started crying because I felt there's something they're lying to us about, but you know, I couldn't quite get it. And you know, as a child or as anybody, you never want to imagine that the reality that is happening on this day is that you've lost your person. Wow. And so I'm crying, then somebody knocks, I open. And then I'm led to my mom's room. We are sat down, my dad is already there, there's a chair, my brother is already there. Because my younger brother was 9 months old, so there's no way he could be in that conversation, he couldn't even comprehend. So my dad starts saying, you know, we loved your mom.
Wow.
I'm like, why did we love her? Why are we talking in the past tense? And you know, because me, I'm very vocal. I literally asked him, Mbona tulimpenda? And then I can see he's sad. And my dad he's never, sorry, a kind of person who, like, yes, he's emotional because I get that from him, but he never, at that point in my life, because I've come to see that this later, at that point of my life, he never showed any weakness. He was a literal father. I see he becomes emotional. Then he's like, Ati, we loved her, but mama amepass. Ametuacha. Muzameenda? Wow. Because me, I don't want it to be that. Then he says, mama amepass one. I don't know what happened, but I remember running out. I ran out of that room, and the way where we used to live is that the master bedroom was at the far end of the corridor. So I ran out of the master bedroom to the sitting room. What I wanted to do was go to the kitchen and go to the balcony and just stay in the balcony. But I think these people had already planned everything out, because when I went to the kitchen was locked. Opening the door to the front door, the door is locked. So the only thing I could do was go to the washroom that was next to the main door. And I just knelt and cried. I cried. I was screaming. I was very hysterical. The next thing I know, I'm being carried, taken to the carpet. And then when I open my eyes and look around, the room was full, because by this time relatives have come in, because you know when somebody has died, they need to sort out the whole the whole burial plans, and even first of all, because it's an accident, identifying of the body and all that. So I see people in the room and everyone is crying, and then that's when it hit me. Anyway, it's true. She's actually gone.
She's gone.
And that reality was hard. Because if you notice from even when I'm giving my life story, my mom was literally our anchor.
I know.
She was, you know, the mom that if we need anything, mom. And as much as I had my own teenage problems with my mother, there's no way I would wish death on her, of all things. And I would not imagine my life with my mom. And so that's where literally our life changes. Because now we said living with my father, the adjustment was terrible. And my father is not my mother.
Definitely. Even if it's just a man and a woman, the way they do life is totally different.
Yeah. Because I remember my first birthday after my mom passed on. I was in school, but on that particular day, the school had called for a parents' meeting, I think, for our class. And then it's like my father forgot that it's my birthday. Like, he didn't remember actually. Actually, I don't want to say he forgot. He didn't remember, because I think growing up it was never his responsibility to remember things like that. And now you see, you know, in high school, when you're in boarding, you expect your parent, first of all, whenever they're coming to school, they need to have sorted themselves, known how to sneak snacks, you know how to have hidden. And my mom knew all these things. Like my mom even knew the class teacher, because my class teacher used to help me. I'm sorry, if this will affect anyone's career, but you know, like my mom knew all these things. And then my father shows up. He had a packet of queen cakes, and I think one soda. So after the meeting, he said, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? And then he's telling me, you're not performing well. I remember I said crying. I literally broke down and left his car. And thankfully, our friend's mom, when I was leaving the car, she held me and hugged me. I don't know how she knew, but she was just there. She hugged me. And then I just told my dad, you go. I don't want to see him. And he left, and I think she talked to him. But now, because of the way the adjustment was still hard, that holiday when I went home, things were still very strenuous between me and my father. And you know, when there's a separation, there's resentment towards the person who didn't stay.
Yeah.
So I held a lot of resentment towards my dad. And so that's why it was becoming very difficult for us to live together. And I'm a firstborn. And for me, I'm like, I know the house should be run like this, and my dad is coming in a different way. He wants things to go like this. So we were really colliding. And I remember that April, that's when I was in Form 3, April, things became very difficult. And on the 27th of April 2013, I attempted suicide.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
And what happened is I was very, what's the word? I was very frustrated, and
your emotions were everywhere.
yeah, and I couldn't be able. I really could not get a handle on my emotions. So I remember there was a place we used to keep the painkillers in the house. I went, took 35 pills. I remember there were 35. I remember I took a glass of water. I was taking 1, 2, 3, like at 35, and then I had written a note. But thankfully, what happened is that a friend of mine, actually my best friend, she came to visit. And so what I did so that no one would suspect, I went to my brother's room, and because my brother was in school at that time, I didn't lock the door because I wanted to be found so that they don't have to break doors when they come for my body. So she was coming to see me, and I think I had also switched off my phone. And so when she knocked, the household told her, I think ako kwa nini, my brother's room. So when she came, she found me because I was in and out of consciousness at that point. Then she saw on the bed there's this book. Then she reads it. Then she figures out this is what is happening. Thankfully, there's a relative who lived close by. So she ran, called the relative, and I was taken to hospital. The first hospital was not acting, so I was taken to another hospital, which is very weird because the first hospital I was taken is where I was taken after the accident. But they were not reacting, so I was taken to another hospital. And then I don't have quite a recollection of what happened, but I remember I was in and out of consciousness. And then I was sedated, the drugs were taken out from my system.
So let me ask, by the time you're feeling these frustrations that lead you to even trying to commit suicide, did you feel like you needed to speak to someone about what was happening in your life at that point, or you had just closed yourself in?
No, I didn't feel the need because, first of all, I didn't think there was anybody who could understand what I'm going through. And being a firstborn, because I remember even when my mom passed on, a lot of people would be telling me, now you're the firstborn. Yeah. And kwanza, and emphasis was more
so
on
much expectations on you.
Yes.
And you're still growing.
Yes. And emphasis was more on taking care of my younger brother who was 9 months old at the time. So I felt so much pressure, and I need to live life. I feel like I need to express myself, but that is not happening. My relationship with my father is very strenuous at this point. So it was, after I'm a teenager, of all things, I'm a teenager. So, like if you're an adult and you're going through something, there's a way you're able to navigate emotions to some extent. But now I'm a teenager, I'm going through all this puberty, bado hapo, as in all this. So I couldn't handle. And even now when I think about it, I don't know how I even got the mind to think of ending it all. Like, honestly, I don't know how I got there. But yeah, it was a very tough time. I was sedated. And then I was...
So did your father come to the hospital?
Yes, he did. Him and a lot of relatives. And now, when you're in the hospital, and now what I remember seeing were people there, and they were so heartbroken. Because my uncles came, like my mom's brothers, and they live all over town. So I'm thinking, oh my God, all these people are here because of me. What have I done? Like, it was a very tough moment for me. And then now I was put on antidepressants. And let me tell you, those are antidepressants.
Sorry. This is what age that you're doing antidepressants?
I was 17. I was 17 at the time. So yeah, I'm put on antidepressants. And as I was saying, it was on the 27th of April. So I was very close to going back to school. And so now what my father does when we go back to school, I don't blame him, I blame the way the school handled it. He informs the class teacher so that the class teacher would be informed that first of all I have antidepressants, and you know antidepressants have their effects because I was very sleepy, sluggish and all that. He goes on, the class teacher, because it was he, goes on to tell the nurse, goes on to tell the guidance and counseling teacher.
The matron.
Yes, the matron, and I don't know who else was told because I remember I used to be called by the nurse because I think in most high schools you don't keep drugs yourself.
Yes.
The nurse is the one who keeps them. So I remember going to the nurse when I'm taking the pills, and then she's telling me, "I heard what happened. I'm sorry. It's not the end of the world." Honestly, I don't think she handled it. There's something she told me. I can't quite recall, or maybe my mind just blocked it. But I felt that was very insensitive. And then the guidance and counseling teacher at the time wanted me to. That she was telling me that, you know, if you need to open up, you can come to me. And there was no way I was going to do that because that guidance and counseling teacher was known that when you'd share with her any problems, you would be that, like, she'd share. Because I think she used to teach literature. So when she was in the middle of her literature class, you'd just hear her saying, "You know, there's a girl who came and she was sharing with this." So for me, I knew that I was not going to share with her. But what I forgot to mention is that before I left for school, I was taken to a therapist, a counselor therapist, who we talked to. But at that moment, because I still felt that no one is understanding me, I felt, and you know that at the age of 17, you don't understand the concept of a therapist. For me, it felt like it's a spy. My father is sending a spy to come to me.
To fetch information from you.
So what I used to do, I used to tell the counselor the things that I hate about my father.
Wow.
Like, so to be quite honest, I don't think that session was fruitful. But I think later on we had another session, and kidogo I think life
pia kugrow ikasaidia.
But now I was not resorting to, you know, attempting suicide or being depressed. I now got into horrible company. And that's where my journey with drinking, partying and all that began. But okay, it was short-lived because it took an year. It was just, Form 3 was that year for me. And then...
So you're drinking during the holiday?
Yeah, of course. I was never that brave. The people who do it in school, but I was never that brave. Our school was... honestly, I was scared of that school because anything could happen. But yeah, like... And then, you know, because my father, because of what had happened, he didn't want to be a very strict parent in that he limits me. So he'd give me freedom, all that. But now, you know, for a teenager, you don't give a teenager that kind of freedom. Because when you give a teenager freedom, they go...
They abuse it.
Abuse it. Yeah.
So coming to do your Form 4 exam, you had sobered up, but you're still figuring yourself out?
I had sobered up because I got born again when I was in Form 4. I think around the month of March.
Sasa ni uliokoka ya ukweli.
Yeah, the one that I've maintained until today. I remember, even if I was, you know, doing all these things, I was very lost. Like, you know, the way you can do something, but you're still feeling, apana, this is not giving me satisfaction. Because I remember at the end of Form 3, when we were crossing the year to 2014, I went for an overnight party. And I had lied to my father terribly. Like, my friend and I had created a story where I'm going to their house for a party for their family and all that. There was a phone number that was created where my friend talked like her auntie, full Kikuyu, you know. Yeah. And so we went for the party, and later on, I heard that somebody who died from an accident in that party. Hey, for me, I'm like, I never, because imagine, for me, what hit me is that I've lied to my father that I've gone for a party for a family, and then this is happening. So for me, that it hit me, but it didn't literally change everything, but it hit me. So when I got back to school, I was just feeling something. There's something that I'm missing and I need. And that's when, I think it was around March, still Pastor George Masharia. He was preaching about I don't remember what the preaching was about, but I remember at the end when he was doing the altar call, I remember he said that, are you tired of, trying to look for satisfaction elsewhere? You need all these things. And I remember, like, literally, I went to the altar crying. I broke down because it felt like there was just so much that I was trying to feel. Like, the way there are people who say that all of us are born with a God innate, like, hole in our heart that only God is supposed to fill. So for me, it felt like there's a hole that I'm trying all these manner of things to fill it with, but nothing. And then when I went there, things changed.
Wow.
Like, when I say my life changed, it literally changed. I got born again quickly after, became very involved with the CU, became our class representative for the CU.
This is in Form 4 now?
Yes, in Form 4. I started doing discipleship. Like, imagine,
wow.
Like, literally everything changed for me. Even that's when I got involved with church. I started serving in church. I joined my previous church at that time because I joined it in Form 2. But I used to go there for just
pastime.
Yeah. And I thank God, funny enough, that I thank God that even if I used to go pastime, I still used to go because, growing up, in our family, we had an on and off relationship with church. So it wasn't like a consistent thing. But with that church, I took myself there. That Form 2 girl, I took myself there and ended up serving for very many years. I think for 10 years, 8 years. And then, yeah.
Wow. Okay, we almost wanted to pause at this point because a lot is unfolding in your life at this point. But for you to be a lawyer, you must have done well in your KCP exam. KCSE.
Not necessarily. I got a C+. I got a C+, and initially, actually, I wanted to become a doctor. Because I thought I had it in me, but now when I look back, I do not have it in me. I could not make anybody's doctor. I don't think I can handle a doctor's work. But I wanted to become a doctor, and even by the time I'm doing my KCSE, I wanted to become a doctor. But the way man plans, God laughs.
Yes.
The way I failed my sciences in my KCSE was not even funny. Like, imagine I got a C+, but I got a D in chemistry. C in chemistry, D in physics, D in biology. Like, I'm like, hey, I remember thinking, like, God, what? Like, I wanted to do medicine. But with medicine, the sciences are the most important thing. So there was no way I could do medicine. But my father was very confident because, like, you can still you can do bridging. But for me, I'm like, no, I don't want to go through that hassle. But when I was in Form 2, after we lost my mom, we were going through the whole legal thing, the succession thing after my mom passed on. I remember when we went to a lawyer's office, and he was talking all this legal jargon. I became very interested. And that's how I said, if medicine does not happen, I will consider law. But that was never a T.
It never stuck.
It never stuck. It was just a by the way. But I just knew medicine is going to happen.
But do you think whatever was happening in your life at that point in high school affected your performance?
Yes, it did. It did, because after I lost my mom, I began struggling in school. It was a literal pendulum. I struggled, and it's the kind of struggling where for me it didn't make sense. I used to try reading vitu haziingi, the way the way it would be told that the hard worker is the one who passes. I used to try doing all these things, but it's like the information could just not settle in my brain.
You
like
had so much happening and
yeah. And you know, unfortunately with school, and I can't blame the school. We were a population of 800. Like there's no teacher who's going to take their time and ask what's happening with this girl.
let me tell you, right now the populations are huge.
Yeah.
We're talking of 2,000
Yeah.
in one school.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a school that I know very well that enrolled 800 for months
What?
this year. 800
Yeah.
for months.
Yeah.
So you can imagine your school then was only one class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the attention.
Yeah. And even for me, at that point, I didn't think that was a problem. For me, I just thought I've just become a dumb person. Like I just thought, mimi ni kama masomo imekata saa hizi. Because when I look at it back, I'm like, anyway, going through that, even a C plus was I tried because I was honestly in school at that point. The thing, especially in Form 4, the thing that gave me joy was just being active in the CU, because everything else, it was just, it felt like a bother.
I thank God I've also seen you being active somewhere else and giving your all. Now I understand where it's all coming from.
Yeah.
Giving your all. Yani mpaka unasema, aish, this girl. Now I understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
So how then were you able to proceed to do law? With
law, I did law as a parallel student. So initially I wanted to go to the Nairobi University, as everyone wants. But yeah, it was, I applied to join there, but didn't happen. Applied to KU, didn't happen. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Like I tried all these universities, it wasn't happening. Then I remember wanting to, I had actually even visited the Catholic University to apply, and apparently they told us that their admission had ended. And when I was walking back to the stage, I remember seeing a poster for JQuat. And I said, okay, let me just go check. Because I remember I was with my stepmom at the time. And then I just said, okay, twende tukaone. We just took a bike, because Catholic University and JQuat Karen are not quite far. And on the way I just told God, God, if this is the school, please let me find it. And it was very seamless. Everything was just seamless. Yeah. So I did law as a parallel student.
How many years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yes.
Here we are, Vero. Somehow life imeanza kukubali kuhappen, of course, with God at the center of it. And fast forward, you find yourself, it's not an attachment, it's called what? This thing that lawyers do, which is not attachment, that you do.
Or pupillage.
Pupillage.
Yes.
Forgive me, I'm not a lawyer. Pupillage. And we find a young man here who has come into Vero's life. Alafu, how was that for you?
Yeah, so I met Faustin just when I joined DC Donholm. And we became very quick friends. We were friends for quite a long time. And before I knew it, we were developing feelings. Yeah, and immediately, we started courting immediately. Like, for us, we didn't date. It was like, we are courting, and from the beginning, we knew we were going until marriage. And so, yeah, as life would have it, we courted for like 5 years. It was 5 years, okay. Yes.
Let's just say even the dating was in that 5 years.
Yes,
then, because
yes.
5 years is
a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, we courted for 5 years, and in we were to get married in our plan. We were to get married in 2021, but with COVID, everything was just disrupted. People were not finishing school because he was doing a degree, so things were distorted. So we said we're getting married in 2022. And I joined Kenya School of Law in 2020. And 1 month after joining Kenya School of Law, COVID is announced. So I got into online classes, did my exams in 2021. The hope was to get admitted immediately, but as per per God's will, I've not been able to, and I still have pending exams. But in January, because what happens is that after you finish with your Kenya School of Law, you need to do your pupillage for 6 months, and then you do what is holding over as you wait to be admitted. You know, if everything goes as seamless,
the lawyers will understand
yes,
better than we do.
If everything goes as seamless as it should. But yeah, my first struggle was I didn't get a pupillage position immediately because I finished my exams in June, but I was getting a pupillage position in January.
Wow.
End of January. I remember I had applied. It was becoming so hopeless because first of all you feel like, God, I thought this was a career. And you know, with being a law student, this is what, like, if you don't do your pupillage, it's like, there's like, ni kama umefika mwisho. Okay, to me, that's what it felt at that time anyway. But thankfully, somebody in January, a friend texts me and tells me to apply for this job. It was like they literally just sent an email, and I sent an email requesting for the job. I'm called for the interview. I remember during the interview, I was very intimidated. And the way the interview went, to be very honest, I didn't think I got the job. Because, you know, the way you think that at the end of the interview you'll be told, very nice.
You have the confidence that this one I've hacked it.
Yeah, but I was very intimidated. And then because I was very stressed, I walked from where the interview was to town. And then the next day, I'm called at like 9 a.m. First of all, I'm sleeping because I'm just tired. I'm like, God, I need something. So I was sleeping, and then I get a call. I'm being told to, you've gotten the job, you need to report to the office, I think the next day. I'm like, are you sure? And then quickly after, you know, when you receive a call, you're not quite sure, and then I get an email after, and I get the job, and it was a very good experience because I'd never worked in a law firm, funny enough. Like, you know, when my classmates were interning in law firms, I had never worked in a law firm. So this was a fully new experience, and things were going well. I was learning well. Like, I was at that point where I'm learning. You know, with being a pupil, when you're undergoing the pupillage, you're the one who's following with things in court, following, like, you know, when the court needs to issue something, you're the one who follows. You go pick it physically, especially for us because our office is not big. So that was what I was doing. I was everywhere literally at that point for those months. And then, you know, when I'm still working, but at the end of our minds with Faustin, we had told ourselves that this is the year that we're getting married. Yeah, and so we in our mind we had started like mentally preparing for the wedding, and then I
want to know when he proposed. Because proposal is big in this day and age.
He proposed on the 24th of April, 2022.
So you get this pupillage opportunity in January, and then in April you're getting engaged. Wow, things are unfolding.
Yeah, you know, God has answered every prayer I have ever prayed in this life. And I was very happy. It was a very joyous day. Yeah, it was a very good day. Of course, kuna ile umedanganya until you get to the point where like, how did I get here that I was able to not even suspect anything. But yeah,
so ilifichwa vizuri kabisa.
Yeah.
Mpaka baadaye unajiuliza, si kuona kaklu hata kamoja hivi kamefichwa mahali.
For me, I was going for a lunch with my friends until nilichezwa. To be very honest, nilichezwa. And the worst part is when you chezwad and the staff of the hotel are also participating. So umechezwa. Yeah.
It is well. It happens.
Yes.
And it's a good one. It creates. I hope you created the memories. Took as many photos as you can.
Yeah.
Because those moments you can never really. Hata ukijaribu tena, take two. It cannot be the same thing.
Yeah.
They're usually very nice. So here we are. Vero goes home very excited. Kesho yake anaamka anaenda job.
Yeah.
And then something happened on the next day after your engagement.
Yes. So the 24th was a Sunday. So I was going back to work on the 25th. And on that day, there's something that we needed to follow up for the office in Kiambu Law Courts. So I spent the majority of my day in Kiambu Law Courts, and it was a very frustrating, because I remember I was so tired, and whatever I was following up with, like the people at the court registry were becoming very, very slow. So I remember being frustrated. So I spent like literally the majority of my day there. I only took breakfast in the morning, but I didn't even take lunch, and I had carried my lunch. So I left Kiambu like at 3, so I was getting to town like at 3:30. And I remember asking myself, do I need to go back to the office? Because my boss allows us really, that, you know, if you leave somewhere very late, it wouldn't make sense for you to leave Kiambu 3, then you're coming back to the office at 5.
So you just proceed.
Yeah, you can just go home. But now, on this particular day, because I didn't think it was going to take that long, I had not carried my bag. I had lunch in the office, and so in my head I'm like, if I leave that lunch in the office, itaharibika, and tomorrow I'm going to have a long day na yo nini smell ya chakula. So I just told myself, acha niende kwa ofisi basi. And I remember it took so long because I was getting to the matatu ya kutoka town at like 4, and I work in Kilimani, so it took so long. By the time I was even getting to the office, it was like 4:30. I get to the office, I eat my lunch, and before I know it, it's like I literally ate my lunch, 5 imefika. We leave with my colleague, tunaenda town, then nimepanga matatu because I was taking a double M. Nikapanga line because you know the way double M's are, don't know zinakwanga na line. So nikapanga line, and I remember even meeting a friend of mine on the line. Tukasalimiana, but he was on the phone. But tukapanga tu line, tukaingia kwa gari. It was like at 6ish, and it was for me. It was the way my evenings were. I take a matatu, I'm going home, or if I'm not going home, yeah. So the matatu, it was like things were literally okay, like
very normal.
Things were normal. Like if I think about it now, there was nothing abnormal about the way things were. I really liked sitting at the window seat because, you know, you have the freedom of opening the window. Alafu, if somebody's moving, you don't have to move. So for me, honestly, I liked sitting next to the window. And then, so I sat on the right side of the bus, on the window, like 3 seats to the back, almost 3 seats to the back. So I'm seated there. And then when we are on Jogoo Road, I remember I got a call from Faustin, my husband. I don't know what, we were planning something. I think it had to be something to do with the wedding. Oh no, it had to be something with his house because he was supposed to move to his house. And so I think he wanted my help, I think with curtains. I don't remember what it was. And I remember him asking me, ama ushuke hapo Uchumingo, Jogoo Road uangalie. But by that time, tulikuwa tumeshapita. Nikamwambia, I'll check for you tomorrow if I get the time. And so tunapita Uchumi, kidogo, like I had not even finished with the call. I just put the phone on my lap. The bus had going very fast, like it was very fast. And before I know it, I think the bus fell because I don't have a recollection. To be very honest, I don't have a recollection of the falling. I just remember that it went very fast. I think it fell because I passed out for a minute or so, or 5. Yeah, so the bus fell, and the moment I'm opening my eyes, people are screaming. And because the bus fell on the side I was sitting on, people are on top of me.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow, this has been an interesting story by our dear sister Veronica. We truly hope you've enjoyed part 1 of this story, and be sure to join us for part 2 because part 2 is quite heavy and loaded. Otherwise, God bless you.